Vanessa Bryant and the tyranny of perpetual grief. A disturbing cultural phenomenon has once again surfaced, this time targeting Vanessa Bryant, the widow of the late basketball legend Kobe Bryant. It began, as these modern scandals often do, not with evidence, but with a whisper, a viral, unsubstantiated rumor claiming she was not only pregnant, but expecting the child of a young baller, a colloquial term for a basketball player. This baseless speculation was amplified on public platforms, such as a podcast of Joe Budden, where the shocking nature of the claim was met with a mix of disbelief and a palpable discomfort. The discomfort, however, stemmed less from the rumor's lack of credibility and more from the violent public reaction it ignited. The core issue was laid bare. A significant segment of the public was not merely surprised, but genuinely outraged at the mere suggestion that Vanessa Bryant might be moving on with her life. The underlying message was clear. In the eyes of many, her role as Kobe Bryant's widow should preclude her from ever finding love or happiness again. This expectation of perpetual mourning is not a new burden, but one disproportionately borne by women. When a male icon passes, his widow often becomes the unwitting guardian of his legacy, a role that the public interprets as requiring a lifetime of visible grief. This script allows for public tributes and dignified tears, but fiercely rejects the notion of private joy or new love. As one commentator on the Budden podcast starkly admitted, "I don't want to see you move on." This sentiment was echoed across the internet, where Vanessa was subjected to vile insults and characterized as a traitor for the crime of potentially healing. This public shaming is part of a well-established pattern. We have seen it with Lauren London after the death of Nipsey Hussle, and with Faith Evans following the loss of Notorious B.I.G. These women and countless non-celebrity widows face a cruel double standard. They are expected to remain loyal to a memory, their lives permanently paused in a state of mourning. To step outside these invisible boundaries is to invite social crucifixion. Vanessa Bryant addressed the rumors with characteristic grace and directness, posting on Instagram, "I'm enjoying my summer, not pregnant. Basically, I'm ignoring the rest of the rumors." For any rational observer, this should have been the end of the discussion. Yet it was not. Her denial failed to quell the storm because the issue was never about the truth. It was about public ownership of her narrative. This exposes a profound and troubling double standard. Had the roles been reversed, had Kobe survived Vanessa, his eventual decision to date would likely have been met with support in phrases like, "He deserves to be happy." For Vanessa, however, the same potential for happiness is framed as a betrayal. The public, feeling a possessive connection to Kobe, believes it has the right to dictate the terms of her grief. To understand profound injustice of this, one must remember who Vanessa Bryant is beyond the label of widow. She was Kobe's partner for 2 decades, standing by him through immense personal and professional trials, including the very public 2003 assault case. She built a family with him and was his most steadfast offender. Her world was shattered on January 26, 2020, when Kobe, their daughter Gianna, and 7 others perished in a tragic helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. The cause was determined to be pilot error due to spatial disorientation in thick fog. In the wake of an almost unimaginable loss, Vanessa displayed immense strength. Just weeks later, she stood before a global audience at a public memorial and delivered a heart-wrenching eulogy that honored her husband and daughter with raw love and resilience. "We're still the best team," she said, a testament to a bond that death could not erase. To hear those words and then later decide that she owes the world a lifetime of solitary grief is a failure of empathy of staggering proportions. The conversation, however, extends beyond Vanessa. It forces examination of the unhealthy dynamic between celebrities, their legacies, and their fans. The public often confuses admiration with ownership, believing they have a stake in the personal lives of the families left behind. This is compounded by racial and gender biases, where women of color like Vanessa Bryant and Lauren London are held to a far stricter standard of loyalty than their white counterparts, who are often celebrated when they find love again. The rumor itself of a relationship with a young baller is particularly inflammatory because it touches on a taboo. It suggests that Vanessa might find solace in someone who shares the same professional world as her late husband, thereby replacing him in the public's imagination. This triggers a possessive fury, as if she is misappropriating a part of Kobe's legacy. We must also consider the impact on her daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri. They are navigating their own grief and adolescence in the blinding light of public scrutiny. The pressure on them to be the living embodiments of their father's legacy is immense, and the public's policing of their mother's life only adds to that burden. The legacy of Kobe Bryant should not be a chain that binds his family to a single tragic moment in time. If his legacy is truly about love, family, and the Mamba mentality of striving to be better, then it must encompass the strength to heal, to hope, and to live fully. Ultimately, this episode is not a story about a rumor. It is a story about control. It reveals a dark undercurrent in our culture that seeks to dictate how women, particularly widows, should behave, feel, and love. Vanessa Bryant has endured the worst loss imaginable. She does not owe the world her perpetual grief. She owes herself and her daughters a future filled with as much joy and love as they can find. The real scandal is not that she might be moving on. It is that there are those who would deny her that fundamental human right. Her silence in the face of these attacks is not an admission of guilt. It is a powerful statement that her life, her healing, and her future are hers alone to define.